What's up? My name is Eric Leo 108. I'm a sociologist, philosopher, and hip-hop artist with schizoaffective disorder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be responding to a post about socialism by Dr. Phil and Joe Rogan. It'll be linked in the description. I'll also have a Tumblr post about this. I do have a degree in sociology from Eastern Michigan University. And what I'm going to do here is basically play the video. You'll hear the audio from it. And I have notes which I'm going to respond to. So I just want to point out that so many people like... Hold on. Okay, so basically I want to start by saying I just want to point out that so many people think like this basically due to ignorance. First of all, they don't know what socialism is. Socialism is workers' rights over production. Giving poor people money stimulates the economy. They basically have no choice but to spend it, which means not giving it to rich people. We've tried giving money to rich people for like 10 to 50 years now. Which has been tried through things like trickle-down economics, the Bush tax cuts, the financial crisis of 2008, and the pandemic, and it doesn't work. The truth is the biggest freeloader in America is corporate welfare, but there's no outcry against it because entertainment hosts don't benefit from that structure. Well, because there's no outcry for corporate welfare because entertainment hosts benefit from that structure.
That I read yesterday. See if you can find this, where he was talking about it when he was young. He thought that the world's problems could be solved by a redistribution of wealth, but now he realizes that healthy commerce is the way. Okay, so he's talking about Bono here. And first of all, redistribution of wealth is called Agrarian reforms. And if first of all, we're talking about what Bono thinks. If you're not talking about schools of economics, you're not in the game, basically, on a real term. Like we're the London School of Economics, Chicago School of Economics, Austrian School of Economics. Yeah, I just wanted to say that. This is and what I'm trying to show is that they're really uneducated talking about this. So and. Agrarian reforms is common when the social structure becomes too stratified where you need to redistribute wealth. This has happened before in history, like in Rome or Greece, and was advocated by Tiberious Graccus and Solan, if I remember correctly. In theory and practice, I'm Tiberious Graccus, furious when I rap this with assiduous tactics. That's poem I wrote for part of my Education release in 2011, I believe. A song from the Education album. Okay, so socialism does... Let's see. To a better society.
Yeah, look, socialism doesn't work. You know,
So he says socialism doesn't work. You got to define it. Because socialism is workers' rights over production. But he's going to say that he thinks socialism is giving poor people money when it's really workers' rights over production. Yeah.
Very cliche in the world. It works great till you run out of other people's money. You know, all of those quotes.
Okay, so until you run out of other people's money, what I'm going to be showing is that basically what we've been doing is giving money to rich people for the last 50 years, and it hasn't been working. And another example of that, besides the 2008 housing crisis and the pandemic, is what is quantitative easing? Basically, it's just giving corporations money to stabilize the economy. Jon Stewart calls it the money hose. We basically transfer wealth up through the tax code, Niagara up, as David K. Johnson would say. We literally create money out of loans, so banks literally create money out of debt. This is where you come in with debt bondage. How are you to pay back the principal and interest with just the principal? I already talked about how there's two major distributions of wealth, redistributions of wealth in the 2008 housing crisis and the COVID pandemic. Trillions were transferred to the wealthy.
It doesn't work, and
So it doesn't work, but these are the type of people that say like the stimulus checks are socialism, but PPP loans are somehow capitalism. The truth is they're both subsidized, and like I'll talk about with the road system here and how we subsidize cars, it's the same thing. It's just part of the government molding capitalism, where we basically where we basically have a protectionist economy, an interventionist economy by the government, but people think it's like capitalistic when there's really a lot of intervention.
Encountered those people in debates that think it does. I've had people in the focus group situation that say they shouldn't be prosecuting shoplifting because they're just going in there and taking what's rightfully theirs. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? They said, well, these corporations aren't paying enough. They're not paying a living wage, so they're just going in and taking what's rightfully theirs.
Okay, so he's getting something conflated here, it seems. What he's talking about is the employees are taking what's rightfully theirs. And this is what socialism would be with workers' rights over production. You would be entitled to some of the product, if that's what your business would condone. Anyways, any labor union leader would not condone shoplifting. He seems to be contorting what employees might feel is their rightful due considering dismal pay. We basically have wage slavery in this country where we don't provide a living wage. It would be employees taking what's rightfully theirs, not shoplifters. Again, this comes to workers' rights over production.
And I'm saying, well, so, okay, if you're wanting equal outcome. No, I'm just wanting equal opportunity. No.
What we want is equity.
You're wanting equal outcome because you're saying everybody should just help themselves to
a seat at the table,
so they all can live. What if one person spent 15 years going to college and working their butt off to acquire what I call consequential knowledge, and the other person was sitting home in a beanbag eating Cheetos for 15 years? You think they should have the same outcome? Well, yeah.
They won't have the same outcome. One will have degrees. They're probably more likely to get hired. They'll get paid more, which is a bigger motivation still. But what I'm going to show is like subsisting. We should provide that in America. And that's still not socialism because that's not workers' rights over production. That's something different. We got to find a different name. I got to think about that for what giving money to subsidies is called. It's called subsidies.
That's a right. Everybody has a right to a reasonable life. Well, go read The Little Red Hen. I mean, did they not go over that in grade school?
I don't remember that one.
Okay, I think considering our technological advancements, our productivity, and the fact we are the richest nation that has ever been, we should be able to provide independent living to all citizens with the opportunity to advance and prosper if we choose, if they choose. And that's kind of what they're doing is they're not explaining this in terms of how humans actually about how humans actually behave. They're not what they're doing is they're not explaining things and how humans actually behave. Humans are not farm animals. Farmers are less than 5% of the population, but over-deliver to the point worldwide population growth is rising. We are losing jobs to machines. Not everyone has to work. We have the money and resources to give everyone universal basic income and have a degree of subsistence. Instead, we charge $20,000 to have a child or $40,000 for a year of college. And this also goes into productivity. Does that just contribute to carbon, which just contributes to global warming? should we take a step back, and should we not have our economic model be tied to infinite expansion in a finite world? That's another topic I want to talk about, but that's for a different day. So I would argue with Dr. Phil that the average worker's economic conditions don't allow them to afford housing, clothing, food, education, healthcare, etc., to fulfill Maslow's hierarchies of needs. In socialism, what they consider socialism, giving poor people money would stimulate the economy and help them live and get them to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But it would get us, so that would get us back there. Yeah. And what else would get us back there is real socialism. So giving workers rights over production, basically more power in the economy, which, yeah.
Don't remember that one. That's a good book. I'll send you a copy.
What was the premise of the Little Red Hen?
Well, she was going around saying, "Hey, help me harvest the grain, will you?" And you know, the grasshopper said, "I'm just basking in the sun here." And she goes to the next animal, "Help me with this." "No, hey, I'm busy right now." Then it comes wintertime, and they all kind of want to come eat the bread. And so, well, you didn't help when it was time to get the grain in, but now you want to eat the bread. And so, sorry, I didn't get enough in to feed you all because you never helped.
Like I said, I don't know. I really don't know how many farmers make up the population, but it's probably like 5%.
And so they're all out there facing to death.
Or less.
It just doesn't work that way. You got to pitch in if you want to be there when it's time to chow down. And people don't understand it doesn't work if you don't contribute. It doesn't work.
And the scary thing is this idea that people have that the government should provide for them and that they deserve it. It just reinforces this, and it just compounds it.
You know, even...
Okay, so this is where I get, as like a sociologist and somebody who knows like the economy, he's just talking about subsidies. So Rogan says the government shouldn't provide for them, and they deserve it. It just reinforces it. So basically this is what the government is for. Like, can you imagine? Some people think the government should provide roads for car companies like they deserve it, but it just reinforces the use of cars when trains are clearly better. This is what you sound like to smart people. The government should have said that about the banks in 2008. They think that the government should provide for them. They think the government should provide for them. They think they deserve it, and it just reinforces it.
I've worked a lot in rehab, and I don't mean drug rehab. I'm talking about whatever it is. If you have a head injury, if you have someone that's injured on the job and they're having to re-educate their body, spinal injury or whatever, if you don't require that person to do everything they can do every single time they face a task, you're cheating them because they'll never get to the next level. I mean, if a paraplegic takes 11 minutes to get across a room to flip a light switch and you don't require them to do that, then they'll never do it in 10 minutes, 9 minutes, 6 minutes, and then where they can actually do it.
Okay. Basically what I'm going to say is, yeah, but you don't take away their healthcare equipment to be able to do that task, which is essentially what the system is doing. Giving healthcare and a stipend to live is the basis to a foundation so you can build. If you happen to never make anything of yourself, so what? Humans naturally want to work, and money is motivation. Basically, what I'm going to be saying is that people don't have the motivation to work. We don't give them a living wage, so no matter how hard they work, they can't make a living, so what's the point in working? But everybody I hear is just wealthy, uneducated, and disconnected capitalists, upset that the wage slavery in this country has backfired to where people don't want to work because they can't make enough to make a living even though they work full time. It's their healthcare and living expenses it's their healthcare and living expenses is their wheelchair, but they still have to push it forward every day. So let's see.
Now, if they can't do it, they can't do it. But you need to require them to do everything they can do for themselves before you help them to do it. And we should always help them to do it, but you should let them do as much as they can do. And that's the same way with everybody in the world. They should do everything they're able to do. And if we have people on the government dole that aren't doing everything they can do to help themselves, whether they're among the homeless population or the drug population or the mentally ill population, whatever, I'm totally understanding that you help people, but you give them a hand up, not a hand out. There's a big difference.
Okay, so we got to find a way to motivate people. I think this is the biggest thing. Again, we're taking away, I just talked about how we're taking away motivation for the average person, for people that are mentally sane and stable. Imagine what it's like if you're trying to motivate a mentally ill person. So or a neurodivergent person is what I'm thinking. Dr. Phil should know better with people who are neurodivergent, and most homeless are mentally ill. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you have the wherewithal, composure, or motivation to do it. Excuse me. Can a person with autism build a house? Probably, but how do we get them motivated to do that?
And we're just not doing that. You've got to require people to do everything they can do to help themselves, so they, again, observe themselves doing more and more, and they have pride in what they achieve and what they accomplish. And we've gotten away from that. We're not doing that.
But it seems like, especially when you're talking about like the homeless population, you would need so many people to work with those people, because you're talking about a psychological shift, a way of viewing the world with discipline and accountability.
Yeah.
That you're not going to just get people to adopt on their own. I mean, very few people will. Most people will do the very least that they have to do. And if there's programs and different ways they can acquire money and food, they'll just stay in whatever state they're in.
No, they won't.
I was watching this video today of a guy who's in Hollywood who built a house on the street. He built a small house. And they were
okay. He probably doesn't want to leave the area and can't afford a house, so he's not going to relocate. He has his solution. Think about it from his perspective. Yeah, I don't see why he would move. I don't see why he would move.
Talking to all the people in the neighborhood about it, and they had the cops come and visit him, and they offered to take him to a shelter, and he's like, "No, I don't want to go." And they go, "Okay," and they just leave him there. So this guy's built a structure on wheels. It's like a small shed, but a wooden house. Because he said that every time he had a tent, they took the tent away.
Yeah.
So he just built a house.
Well, that's pretty industrious.
Yeah, but why can't he apply that to other things, right?
Exactly, and he can.
But he needs coaching.
And I don't care how flat you make it.
Getting him the motivation to want to.
And the side where he says, "I don't want to go to a shelter." If you go to a shelter, what do you do with all your stuff? Because there's nowhere inside that shelter to take all of your stuff. And he has things. And he might have an animal. And that animal...
Okay, so I want to keep this under 20 minutes, and you can watch the rest of the video. So human behavior doesn't work this way. They don't have a grasp on human behavior as a sociologist and minor in psychology. The more people get paid, the more they want to work. Reward works better than punishment. The problem is we're rewarding the rich for hoarding more while not rewarding the poor and middle class. They're getting punished for working harder, so why work? We're also transferring to an economy of automation where we work less. This is Andrew Yang's whole thing. If you want to know more about American inequality, visit my post, American Inequality 2022 at ericleo108.com or by going to farminghumans.com. All right, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of my family. You're awesome. I love you very much. And until next time, you guys take care, all right? Bye.